exam transport, FedEx Custom Critical White Glove. And if you're watching this video, it's probably because you are now a FedEx Custom Critical White Glove driver. So you probably have your T-val certification today or tomorrow or coming up pretty soon, and you're looking for some tips on how to get through this successfully. It's exactly what I did. I did take the class, of course, got all the information, and I went out to the truck and I was like, oh, now what? So, I went online and got some information from some really good trucking teams out there. I saw their videos, Expediter Boogie, also the Crafty Truckers both had some videos, and I'm doing one as well. I'm going to talk about the operation of the carrier system that's most common. You may have a different system, but this is what I'm going to be going over today because it's what I'm familiar with and the equipment I have. And I'm going to go through the checklist for the T-val certification as well. After that, I might talk a little bit about a couple practical tips for when you're out there in the real world. So sit back, maybe take some notes. You can always watch this video again, and we'll see if you have any questions, just give me an email. You'll see the email at the end, and if you can, subscribe and press like. Hope you enjoy the video. So I'm going to be talking about some of the buttons on this particular carrier control unit and go over what all the different buttons are. Now, if you have a manual, you should have a manual in your truck. And this will have the same information on there, but I'll just be giving you a quick summary. So let's start with the power button. Power button is used to turn on the power to the display, and after a certain amount of time, I don't know if it's 20 or 30 seconds, there will be an alarm that's audible outside, and the actual temperature, the reefer will actually start up. Before it starts up, you do have some time to do some work in settings, and before it actually starts up. So let's say I need to do a change in Fahrenheit to Celsius or Celsius to Fahrenheit, and I also need to set the temperature. I'll usually do one. I'll set the Fahrenheit to Celsius, shut it off, wait a little bit, turn it back on, change the temperature, so that I don't actually start up the unit. But let's go over the buttons first. So the very top left corner is the alarm silence button. If you push that, it will still tell you what the problem was, but it just silences the alarm. And that's the exclamation mark to alert you. That's the alarm button. So these curvy lines is your defrost button. It's a manual defrost. The system has to be below 4.4 degrees Celsius to run the manual defrost. So down here, the I, and I'm going to run through this real quick. I'm going to go ahead and turn the system on. It's going to go through a startup procedure for the screen, and I'm going to push. Once it comes up, you can cycle through the different modes: suction, engine. Normally, when I'm doing my weekly report, I want to know the engine hours. So it goes into the different modes, gives you the information. Your battery, normally it needs to be at 13 to start. Looks like that's a little low. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off before it starts up. But that's how you get into your different modes. So this button here is your function button, and if I'm wanting to change the temperature from Fahrenheit to Celsius, that's the button I'm going to use. And first, I'm going to go through that for you real quick. Turn it on. Wait for the screen to show up. Okay, so now I want to change and there it is, or it should be next degrees. So I'm going to hit the enter button, and I'm going to move it up or down. Now it's flashing. I'm going to hit the enter button again, make sure it's not flashing, it's locked in. I'm going to turn it off. So now if I wanted to put my input temperature at Fahrenheit, it's set. And I wait a little bit, turn it back on, and I could actually change the temperature. I like to do it in 2 steps so that the actual reefer unit doesn't turn on. So that is your function button. It changes the modes that items you're going to be changing. You have to select it with the enter button, then you have to move up or down to change it, and then you have to lock it in with the enter button. So this equal thing, that's the enter button. Okay. So what is this button here? It looks like an alien or circle with 2 dots. Well, basically, that's your continuous or automatic on-off function. It's a toggle. If you see that symbol on your screen up here somewhere, you see that symbol, if for T-val, you don't want it. That means the system's going to automatically turn on and off to save fuel based on your temperature, and they don't want you to use that in the especially your certification, but most T-val continuous operation. So if it says continuous operation, that's the button that you want to make sure is set properly so you do not see that symbol on the screen. The next button with the turtle is for city driving, and we tend not to use that too much. It puts the system into a lower speed, so I don't normally mess with that at all. The next button over here is also something I don't use. It's for when your system is plugged into an electrical outlet called standby mode, and we're not going to talk about that. We don't use it. So what you'll see is the symbol above my finger. It looks like a road. That's the one you'll always see on your system. If you see that symbol, then you need to change that mode with this button. So if you see this symbol, push the button and get rid of it. If you see that symbol, push the button and get rid of it. Same here. And that's what all those buttons are for. Hopefully that takes the mystery out of all the crazy buttons on the system. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I would change the temperature. Let's say I'm going to change it. I'm going to turn it on. I already changed it from Celsius to Fahrenheit. The opportunity will usually tell you Fahrenheit, but once you get your information on the Scene Link, it'll tell you if it's Fahrenheit or Celsius, and that's what you want to use. So I want to go, let's say, down to 32. I have to keep pressing that, get down to 32, and now I have to go up and hit enter. It's not flashing anymore, and I can turn it off. Now it's set. So those are how the buttons work. So let's say I need to do my weekly report, and I want to find out how many hours I have on the engine for the temperature control unit for the reefer. I'm going to turn that on, and the button I'm going to use, information I, kind of logical. I'm going to push it once, twice, there it is. 1,471 hours. And that's it. I'll turn it off before it starts. And that's most of the operation for the carrier unit. So just on a side here, if you look on the left, that's the set point, 0. The ambient, or the current temperature in the box, is 29. So just to let you know, that's what the left is what you have it set at, the right is what it is right now. Point to what you want. Now, another point I want to bring up is the defrost mode. So the number on the left is your set point that I was telling you. The number on the right can change during defrost mode. So during defrost mode, you may notice that the number on the right rises, and it sometimes will even look to be out of range. But if you go back to your Amerascan, which we're going to cover next, you'll find that it might still be within range. So don't be alarmed. Use the Amerascan or whatever system you have that actually controls your alarm and displays the actual probe temperatures. In my system, my truck, we have 4 probes, and they each have separate readings, and that's what I go by, and that's what the alarm is set for, those 4 probes. So here's my Amerascan. It has 4 buttons, and you can see what they are: print, alarm, menu, and status. The light's going to go out in a second here. When the truck is running, the light will stay on. Right now it's going to switch between the 4 probe readings. It's showing probe number 4, probe number 1, 2, 3. So you see the 29, the 30, the 29. The 1, 2, and 3 are actually the probe numbers. It's not a decimal point of the temperature. So something to keep in mind. So it's probe 1 says 29. Now it could be 29.4, 29.3. So we don't know from looking at this. So if the temperature has to be below 29, and any of your probes are above 29, then you're not within range. So just by looking at this, or what if it's 28? Well, the point is, in order to really see what the actual temperature is, you're going to have to do a printout to see the decimals. So even though it says 30, you may be at 30.2. And it rounds off on that. So you want to check that. So let's go over the buttons and the settings, and what we need to do to program the system. So first thing I'm going to want to do is go into the menu mode, and I'm going to hold the button down, and now it's asking for my PIN. Well, it's no secret. If you break into my truck, it's 1111. I don't know what it is on yours. It can be changed. I'm not worried about someone getting into my system. So once you get in there, there is alarm settings, and you're going to use the down or up arrows to go to the different modes. Printer settings and general settings. So the two things we're going to be working with today are alarm settings and general settings. So I'm going to go into the general settings first. So let's say I have a run that's going to be 2 to 8 Celsius, and I want to make sure it's Celsius. What if it was Fahrenheit? I'm just going to change it. I would edit that, and this goes between Fahrenheit and Celsius, either left or right, doesn't matter. So I want it to say Celsius, and then I will hit accept. So now I'll go back to the menu that I was in, general settings, and I can hit edit. So basically from there I could have just gone up and down. Sample rate most of the time is 15 minutes, quarter of an hour. If I needed to edit that, I could edit and then change it. But that's what I want for most cases. Sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's half hour. My truck number happens to be in there, and that is, I don't need to change that obviously. This I could change by hitting edit. That is my pro number, my BOL number. So I'm going to change 7138, and if it's the first four digits are what I want, I leave it, and I'm just moving the left and right to highlight the cursor, and now I can go up or down. So I can't go, if I go, let's say I said 1 and I want to go to 9, I can't go down. It's going to go through some symbols and stuff. So I just have to go up to change it to 9. But I'm going to make it 1, 2, 3, 4. Go up 1 here. What's that extra digit at the end? Well, if you notice on your BOL, the very upper right hand corner, normally you would put 1 of 1, but sometimes you have multiple BOLs, 1 of 2, 1 of 3, 1 of 4, and that number at the end allows for that. Normally that's going to be 1. Don't be alarmed. It's not a mistake. You're just going to leave that in there, and I'm going to go ahead, and this is hard to do, but 2 fingers here, and I'm going to hit accept, both at the same time. There we go. So now I can go down. Celsius, quarter. Where's the temperature? Well, we're not there yet. I'm going to hit menu. I'm going to go back to alarm settings. I'm going to hit edit. And I'm just going to be using alarm group 1. Edit. Now I'm going to go down to the different modes. And here is the upper limit and the lower limit. It's already set, but I'm going to show you how I would change it. Of course, just edit and use the arrows left to right. This will make it go up. If I hold it down, it'll change it faster. See how it does that? I want to get back to 8. Just going to hold it down. When it gets close to 8, I'm going to let go and then fine adjust it. Uh-oh. Take some practice. So now I'm going to hit it once. There we go. 8 and accept. And that's how you do that. I've got my lower limit at 2. Everything's set. That's normally going to be how that is. Your delay. That's how it's normally going to be. Your alarm, you want to make sure that's on. That's it. I'm done. I'm going to hit menu. Hit menu again. Menu again. That's it. So I've got my range set 2 to 8. I've got it set as Celsius. I have a 15-minute. What that means is every 15 minutes it's going to report to the system what the temperature is. When I print my report for the entire run, when I deliver, it'll actually show the temperatures every 15 minutes. If I have it every 30 minutes, it'll show it every 30 minutes. Every hour, it'll show it every hour. And I'll talk about a little bit more about that a little later. So that's all you need to do. We'll go over that step by step. Okay, so you're getting ready to do your T-val certification. And here's the sheet you probably have, your checklist. So let's take a look at it. First thing you need to do is set the TCU to continuous operation mode. So where do we do that? When it says set the TCU, that's down here. Okay. When it says set the data logger, that's up there. So we went over that earlier. Basically, you're turning it on. You want to make sure that this little symbol is not showing up. And it's not. That's good. So how do we change function? Function, push it 6 times. And we want to make sure we're in Celsius. If we're not, we hit the enter button, go up and down, hit the enter button again. But we're in Celsius, so I'm going to turn it off. So it says we're set the TCU to continuous, which means it will not start and stop. It's going to continuously operate. Now I already set this to Celsius. Now I'm going to enter the shipment set point, which is 5 degrees. Change the temperature. Basically, want 5 degrees. Now see how it's flashing? I don't want it flashing. I want to set it. Push the middle button, that's the enter, and I'm going to turn it off. It's set, 5 degrees. Now when I go to turn my system on, it's already set. Just turn it on. You want to give it a couple hours to get the temperature. They'll usually tell you on your C-Link what time they want you to turn it on. Sometimes the computer generates that, and sometimes it's not accurate. I'll give you an example. Let's say it's 75 degrees outside, and your temperature you're going to be carrying, maybe it's electronics, its set point is 75, and the pickup is at 8 a.m., and they tell you to turn it on at 2 in the morning. Well, use your best judgment. You probably don't have to turn it on at 2 in the morning if it's maybe 68 degrees outside, but I usually like to turn it on at least 2 hours before my pickup. So they want us to check to make sure we have enough paper. So I'm gonna tell you a little funny story. In the class, they told me sometimes the paper didn't fit in some of the data loggers. Well, I didn't know how to put the paper in, and I thought the only way to do that was to do it through here. And I made my paper rolls really small and jammed them in there, and boy was I wrong. But let's see, how you check the paper and how you change the paper is this whole thing comes out like a drawer. This whole thing pulls out like that, and there it is. Now you see how the roll, it goes under and up. That's how you're going to put your paper in. So I was just checking the paper, make sure it comes there. So normally anywhere from 1.5 to more than an hour before your pickup. Could be even 2 hours if you want, but I usually do it between 1.5 and no less than an hour. The reason is if you have it set to report every 15 minutes and your pickup's at 8, and at 8:01 you reset the marker, you're going to only have 45 minutes of data. And if you're doing your T-val certification, that might not be a pass. So basically to reset it, you're going to hold the alarm button down, make sure it's at least an hour before pickup, hold that down, usually about 5 seconds, you'll hear that beep, and it says journey start print marker set. That means the history for the last week of data that's been stored in here is cleared, and from now until I go to press the print button for the history is when it will start recording the data. So remember, if it only records every 15 minutes, so if it's 8 o'clock on the dot or 8:01 and you hit that reset, technically you're going to start at 8:15 and you only have 45 minutes of data. So for your test, just make sure it's over an hour before you reset it, or at least an hour, hour and 15, hour and a half before pickup. So now you've arrived at your pickup. What are we going to do? You're going to get to your C-Link on messaging. You're going to compose, and on the very top, you're going to hit arrive, stop, and you're going to press send. Right there, and then it'll say yes. So if you're in a big hurry and you just hit send and run away, it won't have sent. It's going to ask you if you want to send the message, yes or no. Make sure you do that first. Arrive, stop. So here's the next couple of things you'll be using. Door open, temperature control. Now, you can get it ready. If it's temperature control, you can get it ready, but don't send that until you're actually opening the door. When do you open the door? You open the door when the customer tells you to, when he tells you they're ready to load. So I'll give you an example. Went through a gate, security let me in. They said, pull up to loading dock number 12. Go ahead and open your doors and back in. Alrighty. So I hit the door open command. I back up about 6 feet from the loading dock. I'm getting ready to open my doors, and they come out and say, no, don't open your doors yet. We won't be ready for about an hour. So sometimes security may not give you the right information. Make sure you're checking with the person in receiving and shipping. Make sure you show them the temperatures before you open the door. So you always have to show them those temperatures. Make sure you sign it and before you open the door. Then go back in the truck, hit the door open command, and then you can go ahead and open the doors and back up. So in class, they tell you to turn off your TCU before opening the doors, or all the warm air from outside will get sucked into the cab and cause the temperature to drop. Well, what if the customer doesn't want you to shut it off? Well, we do what the customer wants. So don't argue with them. Sometimes shutting it off is not always the best thing. The customer doesn't want it. It's their policy. Sometimes they'll tell you in the notes. Okay, so you've talked to someone in shipping, receiving. They say open the doors. Go in and make sure you hit the send button and then the yes button. And then I usually get it set up for that. Why do I do that? Okay. It reminds me. I'll put that in the screen, so when I get back in the truck, I'll see that. I'll remember to do the door close. Sometimes I have forgotten to do the door close, and when they ask you, did you send your door open and door close, you go, oh, oops, yep, I forgot to do the door close. I always put that in there right after it's set. All I have to do is hit send when I'm ready. So you're going to secure the freight, get all your paperwork taken care of. Usually you'll have a seal. Close the door. As soon as you close the door, you're going to either have your co-driver come back in the truck and do the door close. There's something else I wanted to talk to you about. So it's not going to be in here. Once you send your arrive stop, you're going to get a message that tells you whether or not the stop is eligible or not eligible for auto depart. So what is auto depart? Auto depart is a macro where you can depart temperature pickup or you can depart regular pickup. So if you're doing a temperature control but it's not T-val, sometimes you can actually use this to depart temperature pickup, and all the information they'll ask you over the phone you can enter in here, but you have to make sure you've done your door open and door close first. You also have to make sure everything in there is correct. So let's say, for example, they one of the things is it the billing, is it third party, collect, prepaid? So if you're wrong on that and you're yes, or the customer tells you the wrong thing and he tells you it's collect and it's really prepaid, and you enter collect in there, once you send it, if it's not correct, it doesn't match up what they have, it's going to send you a message saying that this shipment is not approved for auto depart. Even though it just told you it was, it's now going to tell you it isn't, and now you got to call in. So if anything is incorrect in that, that message will come back and say this shipment is not eligible for auto depart, even though it just told you it was. You'll have to call in and correct it. So basically we've closed the door. We sent the door close command. Now we have to wait. We have to wait until our temperatures up on our data logger. We're going to watch our probes, and we have to wait until the temperatures are within range. Now, just because it says, let's say our temperature is, it has to be below 30. Well, if it's at 30, it's not below 30. Okay. Or if the upper range is 30, we really want to print it out. And I'm going to show you the print button on this. There's only two modes I use. This is like a toggle. When we push this until you see the mode that you want, when you let go, it's going to print. So there's two modes I use. One is journey ticket numerical and delivery ticket current values. So delivery ticket current values is what I want. I want to see what the numbers are. It'll tell me exactly if I'm ready to go. And it will actually show the decimal point. See, it's below 30. It rounds up on the screen, but the first one is 29.9. The second one is not below 30. The third one is below 30. So see how that works? All four of them, if it has to be below 30, we'll have to read below in this printout. So let's say I'm waiting for my shipment. I closed my door closed, got my temperatures. Don't throw this away. No, I just bunch it up, throw it away. Well, let's say it's within range. They're all below 30. What if you call and you're doing your departure and they say, you know what, we're not receiving your temperatures. Can you send us a copy? Well, then I have to print it again. So keep this so that you can read them, the actual amounts on the bottom. And then if they ask you to send it, take a picture of it and email it to them. So I don't know how many times I bunched it up, and then they told me they couldn't read them. So let's look at the steps. Okay, so we did everything so far. Once we arrived at the pickup, keep the doors closed until we're told to open them. We print and sign a journey ticket. Make sure you sign it. And for our T-val, we're going to do the journey, which has the numerical history, and we're going to sign it. And it should give it. We're going to make two of them because one's for the customer and one is for our report that we're sending in to get validated. It says turn off the TCU while loading, and if the customer wants us to keep it on, you want to let dispatch know. You can do a free form message or you can call them. Of course, you're going to do the doors open at this point, and you're going to do a door close when you're done. So once you do the door close, if you have the system off, you're going to turn it back on and wait for all four probes to return to the requested range. So remember, I was just showing all four probes must be in range before calling and before leaving the shipper, and you're going to provide the shipper with a copy that's signed showing that it's within range. So even though you gave them one upon arrival, you're going to give them another one once you have proof that it's within range. Once in a while, the shipper will say, hey, I don't need that printout, but you still can't leave, and you can't call your departure until it's within range. So while you're in transit, you're going to be monitoring the TCU temperatures periodically. Now, when you're driving on the dash, this is part of my scan. Of course, I look at my air pressure gauges. I'm going to look at my speed. I'm looking at my temperature. I incorporate this into my scan because it does tell you what the current temperature is. It's not as accurate as the data logger, but it will tell you. So, now that you've gotten to your customer for delivery, you're going to print 2 copies. This is for your T-val certification. You're going to print 2 copies of your numerical journey ticket, and that shows historical. And you're going to sign both of them. One's for the customer, one's for your report, for your certification. Make sure that they authorize you to open the door. Check the seal. Usually you're going to have a seal. Either they have to cut the seal for you or watch you cut the seal, but they have to verify that seal before you open it. So they have to give you permission, they have to certify the temperature, and check your seal. So you're going to send the door open command. You're going to turn off your TCU, back up, deliver, Once you've delivered, you do a close the door and send the closed door. You're going to have all your paperwork signed, and then you're going to come in and send it to part delivery. So when you leave your delivery, you are allowed to use the automated macro. And that would be right here, depart delivery number 5. What's in there? Let's look at it. So basically, your inbound trailer number is always going to be the same as your outbound trailer number if you are a C or D truck, or a van, a B truck. And you're going to, did you drop the trailer? No. And proof of delivery name is very important to ask them to print. I always put on my BOL, please. I have two places for them to put on the pickup. On the delivery, it's already on there. Print the name. Proof of delivery name, make sure you put that in there, and the date and the time that you made the delivery. Pretty simple, and then you would hit send. If anything is not filled in, it will not let you hit send. So you go back and check and see what you missed. Did you drop the trailer? Of course, no. So that's the information. If you miss something, it won't let you send it. So it's a lot of information. Hope I didn't confuse you. But use the form that they gave you, the instruction sheet. Just take your time. Don't get nervous and rush. Don't forget to make the 2 printouts. Don't forget to sign the printouts. And if you have any questions, there's no problem in calling T-val with questions, or another driver or coworker. You just want to have everything correct when you submit it. And you don't forget to submit the checklist as well. Sign the checklist, fill it out completely. So you want your copies, your 2 copies at pickup, your 2 copies at delivery. One's for the customer, one's for submission. So don't forget to do that. And always sign everything. Once you get used to this, I mean, in the beginning, it's a little overwhelming. It's kind of scary. Once you've done it a few times, it's really easy. All the buttons on all these systems, there's only a few you really use all the time, and you'll get used to it. There's a lot of drivers out there willing to help you. Of course, the other teams, I know you could always reach out to ourselves, Experimental Expediters. And the other videos might be, as you know, might want to take a look at those, Expediter Boogie and the Crafty Truckers. So just one more point I wanted to bring up. So you've gone through class and you're doing everything the way they teach you on the checklist and the way for your TVAL certification. Once you get out there, I found that when I make my pickup, nobody has ever wanted my historical numerical value report. All they want is the current delivery information, which is up to the minute. If I were to use the numerical history, which is what you're doing on your TVAL certification, which you want to do that for your certification. But when I go to do my pickup, if I give them the historical, none of them really want it. They just, and sometimes they'll say, hey, this is 15 minutes ago. What's the current? So what I've been doing, right or wrong, is I've been doing, when I do my pickups, the current value delivery information. And that's what they all want to see. I've had other drivers tell me that as well. So, you know, in practicality, that's what I use. So when I make my delivery, I print both. And because I'm only using those 2 modes, if I push the print button 3 times, and last time I printed it, it was on print current value. Hit it 3 times, it'll move over to the numerical value history. And then once it's finished and the screen goes back to normal, I'll hit it 3 times again without tearing the paper, and it goes back to the current delivery. And I have both reports on one page. I signed both of them, and I've got everything the customer could possibly want. Enjoy your work here at White Glove, and temperature control runs there's a lot of them. And with our current pandemic we have going on, I think when the vaccine hits, and who knows when you're watching this video, maybe history, but we're probably going to be having a lot of temperature control runs, so you'll get used to doing this. And